Hey BookTube, I'm back with my worst reads of 2018. What's up everybody? Welcome back to Select Pages. Today is one of those long-awaited videos where I'm going to be discussing my 2018 worst reads. These are in no particular order. I have a bunch. I don't even remember how many there is on this list, but we're just going to jump right into this video. And the first read was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I have a whole rant video about that, which I will link up above or down below, however I feel today. I just didn't like it. I do plan on continuing on with the series. I just think the first book kind of was just a dud for me. But basically it's about somewhere in a near distant future. I think they're living on Mars now, and like people are put into different caste systems, and it's by color. So like reds is like the lowest that you could be, golds are pretty high. The color system continues from there. I just did not care about the main character, Daryl. I thought he was very whiny. The story dragged for me. Even like the adventure scenes dragged for me. It was just like all over the place. And like I said, I will link that video down below. Next worst read of 2018 was An American Marriage by Tahari Jones. Now I know this is on a lot of people's list, TBR for Blackathon, so I don't want to discourage nobody for reading it. It's just like it wasn't for me. This book followed a married couple whose husband, the husband was sentenced to jail for like 15 years or so for a crime that he didn't commit, and is supposed to follow how their relationship went from pretty much very good to very bad because he was in prison and the wife falls in love with another man who happens to be their college best friend. Yeah. Very cliche-ish. I didn't care for the characters either. The only parts that I was interested in that book was the time where he was in prison and everything that he was going through while he was in there. But everything else after that was just like, I really didn't care. I thought the characters was just two-dimensional. Something that epic to happen in your life I think deserves a little bit more drama. And to me, it was just like a bunch of just whiny adults, to be honest with you. And yeah, I just can't say it. I can't wait to see other people's reviews on that one. Next book was People Like Us by Dana Mele, M-E-L-E. But anyway, this book follows a girl who's in a rich boarding school pretty much, and there's another girl who's murdered on campus, and the main girl, I can't even remember her name, is pretty much the prime suspect. The only thing that I did like about this book was it did feature kind of a female-female romance that really, like, it happened, but it didn't happen. But once again, that was like the only reason why I was into the book. I didn't care who the killer was. And even when the killer was revealed, I really don't even remember. That's how bad this book was. And I'll just leave it at that. Next book was Under the Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Gornell, which another one was a mental health issue book. Now, I gotta say, I did like the book. The only thing that ruined it for me was the ending. This book followed a girl, and I cannot remember none of these main characters' names because I read all of these books earlier in the year. But anyway, it follows the main character who has this condition where she is terrified to go outside. They didn't really explain like what happened to her. I think it's supposed to have been like just some sort of like brain thing that just happened to her because she was like fine. She was in school one day and something happened and then she just couldn't go outside anymore, and she just fears the worst will happen to her. So she lives in her home. The only time that she goes out is to talk to her therapist, and even then it's like a struggle just to get her from the house to the car, which I found simply amazing. If it is an actual condition, then oh my gosh, I cannot imagine what that would even feel like. That part of the book was very believable. I was really enjoying that part, but it was just the ending. The one thing that made her sum up enough courage to leave the house, because she had to leave the house on her own will, for one thing, for something that happened, and I won't because, hello, spoilers. But I just was like, oh, I hated the reason why she had to leave the house. Like, I wanted it something, and it wasn't even like dramatic or nothing. It was just, I just didn't like the reason. I think it made her less of a character, and the will that she took to courage up to step out of the house, I didn't like. That's all I can say about it. I didn't like it. If you read the book, you know what it was. But yeah, definitely was the ending ruined that whole book for me. Next book on the list was The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. Another book that was a very hyped, very popular here on BookTube, but I think for me personally, I just wasn't the intended audience for it, which is why I didn't enjoy it. I really think it was all over the place, and it follows a kid named, this one I have to remember. No. I can't remember his name either. Monty. It follows a kid named Monty and his friend Percy and his sister Felicity, and they're supposed to be like on one last hurrah before they graduate high school, to go off to do separate things in Paris, I believe. And I was expecting a fun-filled trip of let's get into some hijinks and let's fall in love or something like that, and that is not what the story was about at all. They wind up following pirates and following this ambassador, and just the story was just all over the place for me. I just didn't feel for it. I liked the characters though. It's just the story itself was just a little like the author was just kind of just throwing stuff here and there just to kind of make the story keep going along. But really it was like, I really would just like a bunch of kids just getting into a bunch of antics, like I said, right before they graduate high school. That would have been a great story for me. Next one on the list, Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. Now, this is another one of those books where I probably will continue on with the series because I'm invested in it and I want to know what happens. But at the same time, the story follows a girl named Stevie who is trying to solve the age-old mystery of the school that they go to about what happened to the original owner of the school. His wife and daughter was murdered and they never found out who done it. And she's supposed to be going to be the one to crack the case. I think it's supposed to be like 50 or so years later. I love that concept. I think that is very cool. But once again, I just don't think the execution is well. What I did like about this book also though was that it's told in dual perspectives. So you have Stevie's perspective and then you have the flashback scenes from the owner of the school and his family and what happened and everything that transpired after that. That was the part of the book that I was invested in. Stevie's part, not so much. And once again, there's just another one of those like, it's supposed to be like a cliffhanger ending, but it really just kind of left me like, what? So yeah, but like I said, I will probably continue on with the series, just like not right away. Next one on the list is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. My first John Green book ever, and no, I can't say it won't be my last because I plan on reading another one. But the hype for this book was so real, like I just had to read it. And it's one of those books where I was like, yeah, I could have done without it. Even the fact of the kids having cancer in this book couldn't even make me feel for them. I thought it was just a slow book about a stupid romance between a bunch of kids where once again I was more invested in the side characters than I was the main characters. Once again, I couldn't even tell you the main character's name. I know it was a girl. I want to say Haley maybe, or Hannah, something like that. I don't remember. And the boy's name was what, August, I think? Augustine? Something. I don't know. Because the movie was so boring. And I will link my rant review for this book up in the card somewhere down below because I just couldn't with this book. It was one of those ones that I wanted to DM on DNF, but I was like, everybody keeps raving about this book. It must be going to get good. And no for me. Next book on the list, Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli, which oh my god, I'm so disappointed in because I love Simon versus Homo Sapiens Agenda so much. And then I read this book and I was just like, why? It's like one of those books where an author writes like a really good one and then when they write another book or another book down the line and you're like, I can't believe the same author wrote this book set in the same universe with the same characters. Why is this book so bad? This book followed Leah's perspective on everything, coming out as bisexual, and pretty much they're living like their last days of high school too before the big graduation, and she's trying to deal with the fact that she likes this girl or not, which by the way, I have no clue about that relationship, which popped up out of nowhere, and is someone who, even if I had to pick somebody for Leah, it wouldn't be this chick here. Not that I have any problems with her, it's just no, I just don't, I didn't like it at all, which I will, like I said, link someplace up, down, wherever, because I have a whole rant review about that. Also, bear with me. Next book on the list, Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. And this is one of those books where I was so surprised that I didn't like it because it's about, you know, like Greek gods and Greek mythology and stuff like that, which I totally devour all the time. But this one was just so slow and boring to me. And I'm sorry to say that because I know a lot of people like this book, which is one of the reasons why I picked it up also. But once again, I didn't feel for any of the characters. It was supposed to follow like Achilles, pretty much like a different storyline of him being in love with this other kid. I can't remember his name, something with a P, I know that. And their life throughout whatever. And I just didn't I didn't like it. I didn't like the other main character. I thought he was whiny and couldn't make up his mind about a lot of stuff too. And Achilles just irked the hell out of me. So yeah, that one was a no for me too. Okay, so the next book on this list will probably be like a shocker because everybody seems to love this book. But for me, it was a no, not for me. And that is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Oh my god. I know. I get why people like it. I understand why people love it so much. Just me personally, I think I was critiquing it a little too hard. And I was just like, why the hell does this chick has to be married 7 times? And you didn't really get into the relationships. She was married, and then like a chapter or 2 later she was divorcing this person, or they was only married for like a couple of hours or a month or so, and then it was divorced, and then she's like on to the next one while being in love with the other main female character. I didn't get it. I just thought it was just like too much. Had it been if she was just married to like one guy, but she was secretly seeing this girl or denying her feelings for her while trying to boost her career, I think I would have enjoyed it more. Also, I would have enjoyed it even more so if it wasn't told as a interview of like the interviewer writing her biography. Like, I didn't care for that part, or because I didn't care about the interviewer. And as I mentioned in my review for this book, the plot twist was like, why? I don't get what that was. Like, I think the story could have just held on its own without the plot twist, without the interviewer, and without Evelyn having to marry 7 times. I was even like going back in the book trying to see like, does 7 represent something? But no, she was just, I guess, unless I missed it, and if I did, let me know. She was just married 7 times, and I just don't get it. Okay, we're almost there, guys. The next 2 books is a duology kind of thing I'm putting in there. And that's P.S. I Still Love You and Always and Forever, Laura Jean by Jenny Han. I loved the first book in that series, So the Boys I Loved Before. I loved the movie, which is why I read the book. Then I read the next 2 books and was just like, why do we have these 2 books? This is like the perfect example of a book that could have been a perfect standalone, but no, they had to drag it out. Nothing was changing. Everything was still the same. Her and Kavinsky was still whiny and will they or won't they, and they were still in high school, I think, and now they was like, oh my god, but I'm not going to go to the same college as you, and oh, but you. I did not like it, and know that they're coming out with the second movie kind of puts me off too. I probably won't even watch it, but yeah, definitely double no for me on that one. The Nest by Cynthia Sweeney. This has been on my TBR for the longest time, and I was so excited when I finally cleared out some time to read it because I thought it was going to be about some like feuding siblings wanting their trust fund money, but something happens where they're not going to get their money and they're going to probably start killing each other all to get the other person's money, and that's not what it was about. Basically, it was about this kid. Well, they're adults, but they was coming into their trust money. But anyway, one of the siblings, he screwed up where he had to tap into his money early and a little bit of everybody else's, and then when they found out, they was all mad at him, and he was all like, oh, don't worry, I'm going to get you guys your money back, and they're all like, oh, well, you better get my money back, and then it just went into this whole big colossal thing of them trying to find him because, hello, the dude skipped town, and it's the other 3 siblings are just trying to find out where the hell this guy is, how they going to get their money, and everybody needed their money so bad because they was like, this is money that they was waiting for, which I can totally agree with, but the reasons why they needed the money was like one of the girls was like, oh, I need this so I can send my daughters to like the best private school ever. And it's like, girl, they got scholarships, like they don't need to go to the best school. And to top it all off, like one of her daughters didn't even want to go to college. She wanted to go to art school, like at a community college. Like it was just like dumb stuff like that. And yeah, I was very, very, very disappointed in that book. Very. The last disappointing read of 2018 for me was really no surprise to anyone, and that would have to be Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nang. Now, I know most of you probably already seen my rant video about that. I just did not like, I like the story, I just didn't like the main characters. I really didn't think the story went anywhere. The world was underdeveloped, and this book had so much potential. Now, once again, it probably will be another series that I will continue, and I will at least give the second book a try. But overall, no, it wasn't. And I was so disappointed in this book. I was so disappointed in this book because I wanted to love it, and nope. No. It just was not good at all. Okay, so that is it. That is my list for my worst reads of 2018. So if you stayed to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, loves.